I see you there, sitting in the corner, just hoping that your health will magically come back. Well, tough luck, kid. There's no built-in auto health regen in Dark Souls, but we'll be covering that concept and more in this episode of The Mechanics. Welcome to The Mechanics, the show where we choose to uncover game knowledge instead of doing something important like filing our taxes. Seriously, we're probably going to jail. I'm your guide Pardon, and on this episode, we're looking at that secret sauce that keeps you going, regenerating health. Often called automatic health regen or recharging health, regenerating health is a mechanic that automatically refills the player's health points after meeting certain conditions. This is usually triggered by not receiving damage for a set period of time, but has been expanded to include performing certain deeds of dangerous do, like counterattacking or executing certain combos. It also comes in a wide spread of varieties, including critical health regen or segmented regen that regens your health to a certain threshold. There are so many examples of this mechanic that it's pretty hard to discern which game did it first. In fact, in 1984, two titles supposedly bear the honor of pioneering health regeneration in a game. Here's where things become a little weird, and I'd like to lay out a rule for the mechanics. For our purposes, regenerating health cannot be initiated by a button press or an item use. Instead, it should be automatically given by the game system. This clarification is because while I respect the great folks over at Giant Bomb, they have a post on the topic that gives Punch-Out! The title of the first game to have a form of regenerating health. What I believe they are referring to is a little trick you can do after round 1 or 2 of a match. By hitting the select button while Doc is talking to you, he'll begin to fist pump faster and you'll regain a tiny bit of health, but if your health meter is close to full, then you'll lose health instead. Yes, this is obviously a form of health recovery, but I don't think that's on the same page as health regen. Instead, let's honor the true pioneer of regenerating health, which is another game from 1984, Hydlide. Released on the NES, Hydlide was an action role-playing video game made by TNE Soft, who are now D Wonderland Inc. The gameplay was reminiscent of Zelda in a lot of ways, but proved more vague at parts than anything produced since. In fact, Pro Jared and the Angry Video Game Nerd both made an episode about it with basically the same takeaway.
It isn't fun to play. I think my brother knew. I think he knew how much this game sucked and let me keep stealing it out of his room as a form of punishment.
It's a mediocre adventure game with some serious flaws, and that's what you get for reaching into the dark depths of the NES library. You might as well be reaching into a dog's asshole.
Basically. What is interesting about Hydlide though is how, even at the time, they created regenerating health that would refill depending on your maximum health pool. As you get hit, your health bar goes down, and if it hits 0, you obviously die. However, if you take no damage for a period, your health begins to regenerate slowly until it reaches your current HP, which is shown with an incremental mark. It was at that point that the modern system for health regeneration began, and that was a whole 33 years ago. Today, the inclusion or exclusion of the mechanic has become a little more of a double-edged sword. On one side, regenerating health does give a boon to the player and allows developers to implement a system that is easier than balancing health recovery items. If a developer wanted to, they could also increase or decrease the amount of health regen given to players, which would double as adjusting difficulty levels. This basically frees them up to focus on other aspects of the game, such as the enemy behavior and damage output, since they can easily go back and adjust the rate of regenerating health if an encounter proves too much for the current configuration. On the other hand, players tend to act more brashly when given this crutch. If the recharging offered in a game is too strong or too powerful, then players will forget all about gaining skill within a game and will change their playstyles to throwing their bodies at the enemy until they eventually win. In fact, in 2006's Prey, there were a few systems for regenerating health, and each one proved to make the game not as impactful. By taking away the meaning of death and any punishment for being, well, bad at the game, it lessened the impact of the narrative and the gameplay itself. Excluding the mechanic does alleviate this issue and allows the dev to properly balance encounters and challenges based off not having regenerating health. In games like Mario, not including regenerating health results in the developers creating levels that are teaching tools so that gamers can have the skills to succeed when the challenge increases later in their adventure. Naturally, having a game with no regeneration can also create extremely cautious and frustrated players. When a gamer who is used to regenerating health finally encounters one that doesn't have it, their typical playstyle won't work as intended, and instead, they look for other ways to win. Typically, this comes in a form of playing more timidly or using exploits, but a minority will simply give up as the game is now garbage since they can't cheese their way through it. We've defined regenerating health, crowned Hydlite as the father of the concept, and even dove into the pros and cons of including the mechanic. So now let's talk about the most important thing, my favorite usage of it, which comes from Koei Tecmo's Ninja Gaiden 2. The Ninja Gaiden series could be renamed as just those hard-ass games, but the systems in each one are all interesting and seem to mesh to increase the challenge. The health bar in Ninja Gaiden 2, while it still disappeared in a flash, consisted of 2 types of damage. If you got hit with a short combo, then you would receive temporary damage that would recover after an encounter. However, if you got damaged too often, you would begin to receive permanent damage that lowered your overall maximum HP and would make future encounters more difficult. This HP regen system changed the way the game played as it gave players a saving grace if they managed to make it through an encounter without taking too much permanent damage. What I liked is it also presented the dilemma of using one of the scarce healing items or risking death in hopes that I would make it to the end of the fight. And with that, the Fat Man has sung. Let's all pat ourselves on the back for knowing more than the average Joe about regenerating health. Next month, we'll be diving into an even juicier topic, diegetic interfaces. It's back to researching for me, but I'll see you guys next time on The Mechanics.